I don't know, man. I honestly never even came close to quitting buds. The thought never even crossed my mind. It just never got that bad. I was just really into it. I know some people say, you know, whatever. But I never had to do 3 fucking hell weeks. I know of one other guy that went through 3 hell weeks, but he never got through buds. He just kept having problems. Ryan got through, and Rico got through. Ryan. You'll hear that tonight when we talk to him. But the hell weeks, to hear him talk, weren't nearly as bad as 18 log PT sessions that he had to go through. So just kept getting rolled back, having to do it all over again. And damn, there's a dude that really wanted it bad. So never had any trouble myself, but boy, I don't know. I'd have begun to question that commitment at least after the second one, but by the third one, I don't know, man. That Hell Week stuff is a wow.
Hello,
Rico, it's Don Shipley. How you doing?
hey Don, doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm kicking, bro. I'm kicking. I got a good bunch of guys on here. They're a lot of young guys on here want to be SEALs, and that going through what you went through is quite a story, man. Quite a story.
Outstanding. Glad that you've got a good group.
Yeah. Now, how'd you do in high school, bro?
I did well in school itself, and did a number of different things physically, but academically, I did pretty well as long as nothing took too long to get through it. I needed a challenge. I needed something that was immediate and developing instead of repetitive. Otherwise, I got bored pretty quick.
Well, you know, we've already got some, you know, you're saying repetitive and pretty quick, and look what you did in buds. So I guess we'll get to that, but it sounds like you're like all other SEALs. You get kind of bored quickly if things aren't moving.
Absolutely. I wanted a challenge mentally and socially. Obviously, buds is a lot of physical, but in life period, especially in school, since you asked, I wanted something that was challenging and new. And I guess that made sense why I ended up choosing the industry or the career that I did.
Do you play any sports?
I did. I was in wrestling. My dad was actually a state champion, a light heavyweight state champion for Florida, so he was actually a coach and a law enforcement officer, so I went with him, and he coached a team in Seminole, Florida, and did some of that. I did some cross-country cycling, some gymnastics, and some soccer.
There you go, man. Is your dad a big guy?
He's pretty big. He's about 230, 240, about 6 feet.
Yeah. What got the SEAL bug up you, Rico?
Well, going back to my dad, when I was young, he had recommended that when I get old enough, I start out my independent life as a military member, and he had recommended the Coast Guard was a good place to start to consider because of all the benefits, reasonable home life, and that whole lineup. But once I found out about the teams through a Popular Mechanics editorial, I read up on it, and you can actually read that same article on Google Pages nowadays. All you have to do is look up Google Pages, and it'll show you every page of that Popular Mechanics. And it had a actual phrase in that was saying that it's the most difficult military training in the world. So I had the Coast Guard on one hand, which was safe, a lot of benefits, possibly a good home life because I could be stationed in the U.S., or I could do what was the most trying, difficult, and rewarding endeavor that I possibly could and get the most out of it, I thought. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go all for it, put everything that I've got, and do the best I can. So I chose to start looking into the teams.
Well, you're a big guy now. How big were you when you prepped for buds?
When I actually went to buds, I was 190. When I started training as a teenager, before I left home, I was 170. So I actually put on 20 pounds while I was doing training.
How tall?
I was about 6 feet at the time. I'm 6'1" and something now. But I was only 170 and went to 190. Of course, you lose a lot of weight in Hell Week, first base.
Especially doing a few of them.
Yeah, that was over a period of time. But yeah, your weight goes up and down. Your body goes into shock. You put on a little bit of fat afterwards. But
how were your PST scores? Do you remember much?
When I got Navy, my actual fitness level went down because I was training so hardcore as a civilian, and my actual physical screening to get into buds was about 6:15 for the run. I would do like 12 or 15 pull-ups, I believe. The 500-yard swim, I believe, was about 12. I can't remember exactly what the times were, but it was about 10 minutes, I believe, for that. And the push-ups in 2 minutes, I think I would do about 60 to 70, something like that.
There you go, man. So you show up to Buds. What was your class you started in?
Started in 210 back in 96.
How many dudes were in your class?
It was almost 200. Started off, I know in that class, there was a lot before, when you go into PTRR, they call it now, or the fourth phase, they were calling it at the time. There was over 200. Some of them didn't all class up, but we were running around with over 200, and then it kind of trimmed down actually going into first phase. And, of course, it thinned out quite a bit after Hell Week.
So you went right out of boot camp?
I did. I was in the dive fair program at the time. Nowadays it's called the SEAL Challenge, but I signed the contract and made sure that was exactly what I was going to do. And they had wanted me to be a nuke and tried to tempt me with a bonus and all this stuff, but I said, no, that's not what I want to do. So I got the dive fair and went through A school at the time. That's what they were doing, and went straight out to Buds.
There you go. So what went on? How did first phase work out?
Well, it was a fall class, so pretty cold, not unbearable, but ended up going through, and the physical part was pretty easy. It wasn't too mentally distressful, but what I started seeing, since it was my first class, my first time there, that there's a lot of other things you don't hear about when people talk about having the challenges, how well you can do push-ups and pull-ups, is that you actually have to recover. If you're getting hammered for a room inspection and they're making you carry around trash cans full of sand, it's beating you down, and then you have to run a 4-mile timed run later on, followed by an O course and a swim. A lot of guys don't think of, if they're real fit, that they actually have to recover quickly and keep pushing. And I found out that it's not so easy to keep getting beat down on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and perform at your highest level. And it requires a lot of mental tenacity. And there's quite a bit of attrition. Made it into Hell Week and ended up getting rolled back almost at the end of Hell Week in 210. So essentially went through all the most difficult parts and got rolled back to 211 because I couldn't, I had actually blown out my left knee and was peg-legging around on it. And I had to start all the way at the very beginning with 211.
So your run times, swim times, O course, no problems physically, doing the physical stuff at Buds during first phase?
No, I wasn't the best at any one thing, but most everything was pretty reasonably simple. The most challenging thing I would say that I had for times was swims, and that was basically due to my buddy or I having to guide straight and not wasting time zigzagging around the ocean.
Well, we have certainly talked to a number of guys, man. You and your buddy are either good at that shit or you're not, and it can turn a 2-mile swim into 2.5 real quick.
Yeah, it makes some good conversations too about whose fault it was later on.
Oh yeah. Easy day. So now you go to Hell Week with these guys, and how was all that, and then what happened?
Well, 210 actually was a pretty easy Hell Week now that I look back, because I ended up doing multiple. But there was a lot of funny games that they make you do, a lot of hopeless evolutions where you think you're going to win or it pays to be a winner, and it really doesn't, because the plan is to get pounded for a good solid 5-6 days straight, depending on when you get secured. But the mental games were really what made guys wash out, and a lot of the games that we have had us going all over the amphibious base right across from the center there. And I ended up stepping in a hole on Turner Field, which you can see on Google Maps. And I don't know what the game was at the time. We were running around with our boats, and jacked up my left knee and blew out my so the instructors like to see if you're going to quit for any reason at all. So especially if they see you've got some weakness going on, they'll really start hammering you, ask you if you want to quit, You know, it's just easy. They also have the games about, I'm going to take you out to Denny's and buy you a nice warm breakfast with the bacon and the eggs and everything else.
The hot chocolate.
Yep, the hot chocolate.
We got the hot chocolate going, and just come on in.
Yeah, some guys want to believe that when you're laying there in the surf zone for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So,
now what? Now you blew your knee on what?
Just some pothole, some divot over in Turner Field in the grass. We were running around, I just stepped right in it, and it kind of hyperextended my leg a little bit, and I guess it had already been irritated, so it just blew it out all the way.
And what day was that?
I think it actually happened on Tuesday, and then I just was peg-legging around on it for a couple more days like that, and they were getting annoyed because, I don't know, what kind of language are we allowed to use on this call, Don?
You can use any kind of fucking language you want.
All right, well, they've got this evolution they call monkey fuckers, which means you hold your ankles and you end up doing squats while you're holding your ankles with your heels together. And on the day, it was later on Wednesday, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday, they're having us do these ridiculous evolutions, running to the surf zone, rolling around, getting wet and sandy, and then going back on top of the berm, doing monkey fuckers 50 at a time, and then going back to the surf zone endlessly. So that was going on, and we were doing boat crew races like that, and I was peg-legging along, just dragging, trying to push through. And they were pretty annoyed with me, the staff, that is, the instructors were pretty annoyed with me by that time, and kept trying to see if I wanted to quit, but I was still moving so slow. They said, okay, that's it, you're going to get rolled. So I got pulled, and I was pretty pissed off at that because I'd made it that far, and it was almost to being secured, and got rolled back to day one of 211. So.
You know, we talk to guys on here, you know, it seems like, you know, SEALs or buds, there's an impression that, you know, we rah the guy that's, you know, giving it his all, you know, that's what buds is. But, you know, when you do get hurt or something like that, and you know, things start slowing up the class or other guys, dudes get aggravated with that shit kind of quick. You know, nobody starts, people aren't rah-rahing dudes on anymore. You know, it's like, you got to do something here, bro.
Yeah, and that's the hard truth, is that the thing is that whatever we do, if we're not trained, if we're mentally a whiner, some guys are whiners. You'll find out that's unfortunate, but you got to be able to keep your core morale strong and be an encourager and keep everybody strong. But sometimes you get somebody who's got a weakness or a lung infection or something, and they're just dragging, and people really get irritated because you've been up for 3 days with no sleep. And later on, you know, maybe you'll get an hour and a half on Thursday or Friday. Well, I know we had 3 hours total in some of the classes of the Hell Weeks that I was in. And people are just annoyed. They're out of their minds from being up since Sunday. And they don't want to get beat anymore because you're going to get beat, and they don't want to get beat. So, yeah, it's pretty rough. They stress you out as much as possible to see if you can take it.
Yeah, I remember being put to sleep in buds during Hell Week twice. And for about 15 minutes apiece. It was just enough to let you get into that deep, you know, rapid eye motion stuff. And then, dude, we were just terribly rudely awakened out on the beach, you know, and sent back in the water. And dudes were just lining up for that bell. And I think probably why they give guys that extra couple hours sleep now is probably some doctor threw a hissy or some shit, and they decided to do it. But I think, to the man, guys would say that doesn't do anything but make it worse.
Oh, it does. It's absolutely worse. You don't want to go to sleep, and you don't want to stop moving because your entire body starts to swell and stiffen up, start getting rigor mortis, and your face feels like it's been punched about 500 times when you wake up because of all the cold and the environmental hazards that you've been dealing with. So, yeah, you don't want to go to sleep. You want to just stay and keep moving, shuffling along if you've got to, but it is worse. You feel horrible when you wake up.
Yeah, it's like the medical inspection, you know, when you got to take your boots and everything off. You're just, oh, my God, please hurry this up so I can get them boots back on before I can't get my feet back in them.
Yeah, yes, that is true. I'll tell you one thing, though, is that when they actually rub whatever that ointment is that they have nowadays, that A&D or whatever it is, before you put your socks back on, that's one of the most amazing experiences of your life, is when those volunteer, those brown shirt rollbacks
I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Those fuckers. So, yeah, you know, and now getting rolled back, especially that early into it, you know, here's the impressive part of that, you know, was, man, you mentioned it a bit there, but that had to be as just about as frustrating, all the way back to day one. They'd had to restrain me.
Yeah, I was pretty fired up, and I was never a quitter. Of course, I hadn't been tested for it to be proven, but I never questioned that I was going to quit. I knew and had, you know, I was blessed to have contact with a number of the old frogs from the NCDU or the Scouts and Raiders, and even some team guys from SOCOM that were officers down there. SOCOM, since I grew up in St. Petersburg, you know, it's right across from MacDill. So I thought I was pretty well informed, had read every book, every article possible. But so I thought, okay, I'm committed, I'm going to do this. But the point is, it's sometimes not that easy. You don't just miraculously get through it, and a lot of the studs don't make it because they can't, you know, and I got broke. So, yeah, I got sent back, and I said, that's it, I'm going to push through. And it was even more difficult the next time.
So, how was redoing first phase over again? Did you get better, or did you just, you know, what was the attitude, what was the mindset going in?
I was definitely more fired up, and having that experience helped to be more of a leader, especially to motivate the boat crew when there was some discouraging evolutions, because the mind games are endless, especially during Hell Week. But even during the rest of the phase, it's pretty rough when they're jacking you around with your daily schedule and giving you timelines that you know you can't beat or you can't win. So you end up getting beat anyways, and that's all part of the.
Yeah, it's very strange out there. You know, guys see a lot of videos. You really can't get it till you get out there. Some of that, you know, man, the way it's designed, the way it's set up, the way it tests you. You know, you're just always on the clock. You're always being tested. They're always looking, no matter if you think they're not or not. But you know, just they put these impossible things in front of you that they know you're going to fail. You don't know you're going to fail until you do it. They know you're going to fail. And they just want to see how the fuck you react to it. And if you don't react well to it, you know.
Oh, yeah, if you whine or you throw a fit, and some of the officers even had issues with kind of throwing a little tantrum of frustration in front of the staff, and they love to see that, especially if they're enlisted, which most of the instructors are non-commissioned officers and enlisted staff. And they love to see an officer start throwing a little fit because it was an impossible evolution, and we tried so hard, and we failed, and it's so not fair. And so it's killer time at that point. You get hammered for hours.
It's so not fair. You know, that's the big lesson you learn out there. You know, life isn't fair. And boy, you guys see the door real quick, man. They you know, get under your skin about something, and you either react to it well or you react to it badly. And they're looking for the guys that just, you know, just say, oh, hell, you know, I'll do better the next time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Is know that I came here to be punished. And I really don't have to show up with the mentality for whoever's listening is to show up. I really don't have a clue what it's like because I haven't been there before. And that's true for every part of life, but especially it's so intense on every level of your life at BUD/S. And there's really nothing like it, Don. I mean, you kind of alluded to that earlier. Is you get out there, they're looking for every possible way to get into every crack in your armor, and they will manipulate that and pressure you to a point where you won't survive unless you just know how to shrink down inside and gut it out and shut your mouth and stop feeling sorry for yourself and just push. If you can't push well, then find a way that you can, and it's going to be a growth issue. But there's nothing really to do but realize I'm here to be proven, and that's going to be by getting pounded out.
And then you find out that real quick when you get to the teams. A lot of guys think, you know, and, you know, that's why I do a lot of this, you know, dispel a bunch of this stuff that goes on, but guys think you walk into a team, they give you a machine gun and start sending you out on missions, you know, and you're just a fucking new guy. You know shit. And they're doing the same thing to you that was kind of done in BUD/S, but on a different level, you know, you're being tested there, man. You don't swing well, you know, shit can go bad there.
Absolutely. And what you don't realize, and what a lot of guys in BUD/S don't realize, and civilians especially, because they hear so much about BUD/S training, SEAL training, and all this media and marketing that goes on with all this sensationalism, is that it doesn't get easier because you're at a SEAL team. You've got to do things that are hard. You've got to kick yourself in the balls for PT. There's a lot of hard PT in new ways that you might have done, but you've got to do it again and again and again. And it's not, you don't just hang out and take pictures for the calendar. And a lot of guys think that it's like that and you can just be cool, but it requires a lot of dedication and motivation to do it well, and to maintain expertise. There's a lot of training and a lot of focus.
Yeah, you're in the big boys club, and they don't take lightly to you got to be on your game all the time there. Kind of crazy. So I got off of a little bit. Now you class back up again, and you go back through Hell Week a second time.
Yes, I went back through 211. It was a winter class, so it obviously paid to do that. That was miserable. That was absolutely miserable because it was so stinking cold that it felt like we had knives in our hip flexors, and we all shared the same sentiment. We had a chance during Around the World, which is one of the last evolutions you'll do at the end of Hell Week, where you paddle all the way around the island, either one direction or the other, and do kind of a little scavenger hunt at points. But it was so cold, guys were crawling under vehicles at the stops to try and get the engine heat on them. They were pouring the chicken broth that we were supposed to be eating, they were pouring it down the back of their neck and down their back to try and get warm. They weren't even drinking it because they didn't care. They were jackhammering so hard. And just unreal. Guys' backs were locking up. So whoever says there's really no difference between a summer Hell Week and a winter Hell Week, it is not true. And if you really want to try and test yourself, ultimately, I can say that having gone through 2 fall Hell Weeks and a winter Hell Week, that the guys that go through the winter Hell Week have a certain bond because they know they've been absolutely, completely miserable and tested to their core in that water. Because when it's colder, it hurts even worse. If it's just 10 degrees colder, it's much worse.
There you go. So Hell Week went all right on your second run.
Yep, went straight through to 11. Was able to push a little more, knowing what to expect during the evolution, and also knowing what the games were going to be about, knowing certain times when it actually did pay to be a winner and when it didn't.
Yeah, you were getting a little bit of experience there, so good. So what went on with the rest of it? No problems in the rest of first phase, and you entered second?
No, nothing really ultimately challenging. Once you're recovering, your body has to recover, and you have night sweats. You have issues with dreams. Sometimes guys have hallucinations during Hell Week and after. I never had a hallucination. I saw some things when I was exhausted that were a little bit of a play on the lighting there going around San Diego Bay with the fog hanging low. I thought we were going under an overpass of some type because of the light playing off the fog. But afterwards, recovered pretty well, and it's hard to pick up and do your evolutions when your body's still recovering from Hell Week, but that's another thing you have to push through. And I made it into second phase, ended up having some issues in the second phase with pool comp, which a lot of guys don't understand is the next big hurdle as a mile marker. It's not just about Hell Weekend, it's all downhill. Now you have to do some other things, and pool comp is another one of them. So ended up having some issues. Got a little bit of a chemistry issue because my tanks, somehow, I to this day still do not know what in the world happened, but I had less air than I should have at the pool, at the combat training tank. And when you're doing pool comp, part of what you have to do after you're done with your pool comp skills is tread water. So some people, when they were doing their victory laps after their pool competency skills, would off-gas and let a lot of their air out. Well, before I even got to that level, my tanks were floating around doing ditch and dawn, which is working through challenges of having your hoses tied up at the bottom of the 9-foot section there. My tanks were floating away, and I was trying to put my weight belt on it, and they were floating away. There was no way of keeping them down. So when I came up, I didn't pass a couple of the evolutions. I came up, and they said, "Hey, later on, they said, hey, why are your tanks so light?" I said, "I have no idea." They said, "Did you bleed them down?" I said, "No." I ended up having to go to a board because at least one of the instructors was convinced I was lying and that I had bled them down on purpose. And I did it. I still have no idea what the deal was. But ended up not going through with the rest of it because no matter what I did at that point, it seemed like there was a ethical issue or an honesty issue. So I ended up getting dropped, even though I did what I was supposed to in pool comp. There was actually no going through at that point. So I got to the board when I got rolled out, and they said, since I had made it through Hell Week, and I had actually done 2, they said, well, we'll send you to the special boat team training, and you can come back, because you can't get rolled twice again, or rolled again. So I did that, ended up going to special boat teams and coming back and went through 233.
Special boat teams is the SWIC guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I got my SWIC qual and deployed and did a few deployments. Did Riverine down at Panama in 26, right on the Panama Canal there before they decommissioned that. Then moved up to Stennis Space Center in the Riverine unit there and had some fun. That's a lot of good times there. And went to 22. And then went back and got my package, resubmitted a package, and went right back as soon as I could.
And what class was that?
That was 233.
233, and first phase to third, you made it.
That's right. Went straight through on that one, and of course, Hell Week was a little more. It's interesting. They refine their technique over time. They find ways of keeping the pain extended without causing as much physical injuries. There is a lot of diabolical new ways to punish the students. And so I got to experience that with 233, and that was a good group of guys, a lot of humor there, good personalities. But the punishment was even worse, even though it wasn't as cold. That was a fall Hell Week, too.
It was funny talking to you the other day. We've talked a number of times, but you got on a roll about log PTs and the difference between that and the Hell Week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, log PTs is something you hear shortly in any of the editorials that you read. Sometimes they go into it on these specials more recently on TV. But a log PT is a fantastic way of extending torture over a long period of time without actually killing you. And there was one evolution that they used to do called shoulder carry, which obviously you or 6 or 7 guys on a boat crew will carry it as a race, either running or walking for a period with the log on your shoulder. Well, I guess somebody busted their clavicle or they had too many neck injuries. They decided they're going to start making everybody do chest carry. And chest carry is unbelievably painful over a period of time, because you can imagine just carrying a log in front of you for hours and doing all kinds of races and whichever.
Guys down here know all about that.
Well, I hope that they get a good taste of it, because it's brutal when they're making you go over 20, 30-foot berms and chest carry it back and forth. And, of course, you have to get your wet and sandy, so it's rubbing you raw and you're bleeding after. Because you have to remember, this happens over and over again. I ended up having to do 18 log PTs total to make it through and graduate.
Jesus. You're just making a hair stand up in the back of my arms just thinking about it. I think, my class had to do it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it's a rule that's 6, and they've changed it through the years. They've changed it how many you do before Hell Week and when you do them, and they shifted it around a little bit, but I'll tell you, they've made it harder now than it ever used to be.
Oh, I've said that on here before. It seems the more politically correct and the more sports injury oriented the place gets, or whatever they say, you can't do that anymore. That's just the SEAL mindset. Okay, that's cool. Watch what we figure out to do to them now. So it never gets any better out there.
Nope, it doesn't, and you can't change the temperature of the Pacific Ocean either. It's still flipping cold.
So 18 log PT sessions, 3 Hell Weeks, and what team did you go to after you graduated? Must have been a pretty meaningful graduation for you, bro.
It was that. It was triumphant, and I had graduated from the SWIC class 22 there, but finally making it through with my buds, SEAL wannabe buddies, and how much it required to get to dig in. In 233, they had the best of all the chemistry from the staff, because our proctor, especially in third phase, had decided, since it was his last class, he was going to hook us up instead of help us out, which a proctor is supposed to, apparently, by title. do for you. But he decided he was going to hook us up, so he did all the way through third phase in every way possible to make it miserable. And it was pretty miserable, but we had a good group of guys that had a lot of humor, a lot of morale, and made the best of it, even though it was constantly a mind game. Ended up going to SEAL Team 4, and had been something I'd wanted to do because Commander Bosilovac, who some of you might have read his book, he was actually at SOCOM when I was down there. I got to know him. He became CO of Team 4, and I had wanted to be there and join him. Ended up, since I got rolled back, ended up getting there later. But I ended up going to SEAL Team 4 and being able to enjoy being in the oldest building on the compound that used to be UDT 21.
Yeah, there you go, man. There you go. Badass. Oh, what do you got going on now? I was showing the guys a picture of you, and I guess I'll see you at the rally tomorrow up there if you're. But what are you doing now?
Currently, I'm involved in a couple of different diverse ventures. Currently doing some international travel in the anti-piracy industry, protecting the State Department and Pentagon assets, going through pirate-rich areas, and trying to keep those guys from getting any of our assets going overseas, because, believe it or not, they like to steal what's going on, not only on the ocean, but once it gets in port. They'd like to if they could, since we've got, helos, law enforcement, vehicles, all kinds of things going overseas. Besides that, I've got an executive position with security companies that provide security in CONUS in the continental U.S. for site and event security. So I've got that going on, and some hobbies and other social community outreach interests.
Yeah, shooting pirates sounds like the most fun.
I tell you what, it's a good trade for the amount of time, for how much money you make, and you get to work with guys with a similar mindset. And ultimately, Don, it comes down to, if you want to stand in the gap between terrorists or just arch enemy fiends around the world, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And once you get a background in special warfare, then your resume can pretty much send you a lot of places that you wouldn't have a chance with a degree or anywhere else, but you really have the brotherhood, and that is invaluable.
Yeah, that's a good point. It comes up plenty. When when you're able to sign your name on any kind of resume, or you're bidding for a project, or you're forming your own company, you're doing anything, it really helps to be able to write your name in those four little letters behind it, SEAL. Former SEAL, retired SEAL, things like that. People take that shit serious.
Absolutely.
FBI, CIA, guys that are looking for other employment when they get done. That opens a few doors for you. It's worth the push-ups at Bud's.
It is. It's an investment that pays off multiple folds, and you don't have to worry about if you're ever going to be connected, because you're now part of one of the most exclusive fraternities in history, and you've got a bond with guys that that you can dig in for something that matters, and you're going to have loyalty in spite of indomitable odds, and you don't have to worry about it. It's something you're confident in, and you can always fall back on that foundation no matter what's going on.
Yeah, you learn a lot. It's not only going through Buds and your time in the teams. It's learning from the other guys. And I've always said that there's no bad examples in SEAL team. There's just good ones, because even the bad example, SEALs are smart enough to look at that and go, "Well, I'm glad I didn't do that shit." You learn from everything you see there. Whether it's good or it's bad, and you just progress on and you drive. And certainly a guy that's been through 3 hell weeks, I know a lot of what you've been up to and how you do stuff. Certainly going through what you did has, continued that momentum that you had there getting through Buds. And you're just you're a dude to be reckoned with, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, Don, something that you don't hear much about in any editorials or on the shows is that something you do learn in Buds, if you're willing to accept it, is that when you're going through hard times and you're willing to persevere, that you learn what it's like with a bunch of other good dudes that when you're wrong together, and you stay wrong together, and you get punished together, but you do it knowing that the point is not whether you're right or you're wrong and saving face or having ego. The point is that you're together no matter what. And that pays out even when you're a civilian, when you get out, whether you retire or you decide to do something else. I spent 10 years in special warfare, and I am doing other things, as you said, some mutual things that you and I are both involved in. But what happens is whenever something destructive happens, whenever something disillusional happens, guys bond together and you form a wall of defense, and you're willing to help each other out. And something you can't pay for, and something that's not that you can pin on your chest, is knowing that the guys that are now your brothers in this brotherhood are guys that you can be in a punishing area or a punishing situation together, and you've got that loyalty. So you can be wrong and stay wrong and get punished together, or you can go through hard times in the civilian field together, but you have that to fall back on. And that's to be reckoned with. That's a belief system to be reckoned with, and that's American.
Yeah, Matt Levitt says it really good down here when he PTs the guys for the course. He reinforces, you cannot succeed as one, but you can fail as one. It's got to be a team effort, man.
Absolutely. And the mindset, if anybody that's listening to this call is definitely going to go through with it, knowing what or expecting, they're willing to find out what they're getting themselves into, because you don't really know because you haven't been there. But if you're willing to find out what you're going to get yourself into, seeing that it's worth the risk, you're going to find out that, yeah, you don't want to be in your attitude or your mindset or your words that guy who's being destructive or being a loner. You definitely want to find a way to gel and to help the other guys out, because it's going to pay off, and there's nothing better.
Yeah, it's a strange world out there. We try to educate guys and show them, and they come down for the courses, and we just load them up with information. But in the end, it's really up to you if you're going to keep that log up over your head out there or not. There's nothing anyone can teach you. It's all what you have and what you're willing to fucking sacrifice. Sacrifice is the only word. It's get through buds, and your misery is just beginning. But boy, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's worth the ride. But it sucks. You do some terrible hard stuff in the teams, but damn, you look back. We like the things that suck. Things that are hard.
Yeah, if it doesn't suck, we don't want it.
It ain't raining, we ain't training, just, kind of shitty things. You forget all the easy things that happen in life. It's just the really hard, bad things that become memorable. And, damn, dude, 3 hell weeks and 18 log PT sessions, Geez, what was that, 16 log PTs more than I did. I really think in 131 we only did it twice.
Well, you were lucky, Don.
Yeah, well, they had a bunch of other shit for us. They stopped with you guys. Oh, man. But, yeah, you went... we were close. One of the guys that made mention on here, that Bud's class that went through the... they did the documentary, the Discovery thing on there.
Yeah, 234?
Yeah, that was just before you.
That was just after. I was in 233, was my graduating class. But, yeah, they were there. We would watch them do the breakout, and... the camera's running around, and the funny thing is, guys, if you're watching this Discovery Channel, you're not seeing what happens when the camera turned off, and you're not seeing what happens when the sun goes down and those cameramen went back to their hotel. So don't think that you're getting a good handle on anything. You're getting a taste. No matter what you're reading, what you're looking at, you're going to find out what it's like to be pounded and miserable for hours, and it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I tell guys that on here, they see it, and it's all good, I don't belittle these dudes, everybody, thirsts for knowledge and tries to figure it out, but be damn sure that there were so many times in that where they went, turn that camera off, we're about to do something that we don't want anybody to see. And,
it's about to get biblical.
It is about to get fucking ugly out here, so turn that camera off, because we're not going to let anybody see it. You don't know, and it's bad, man. It's tough, but it's all done for the right reasons, and geez, get it done. How about any tips for these guys? Especially with your background. Geez, I've had so many guys on here doing saying so many stuff, but nobody has done what you've done to get through that training.
Well, I'll tell you guys, you're going to find out not only who you are and what you're willing to do, but how well you're willing to have the right attitude while you're doing it. And the good thing is you're going to find some guys that you're going to look left and right of you while guys are ringing out and leaving the beach and the surf zone while you're being tortured, and they're going to go off and quit. But you're going to be able to connect with some guys that are going to be able to smile and laugh and make a joke right in the middle of the misery. And those are going to be some great friends. So I'll tell you, if you're going to end up doing this, knowing that it's going to be...
Hey, let me, I'm sorry, dude. Something just kind of flipped out here on this thing. Would you mind doing that again? We had a break in the connection or some shit.
All right, you want me to start from the top?
Yeah, cause some tips for these guys before they go in.
Okay. Guys, no matter what you're doing, if you decide that you definitely are going to go in, make sure that you know you're obviously going to be doing some difficulty mentally, emotionally, and physically. Is obviously just going to be the handle that tries it all. But you're going to be able to look left and right of you while you've got some of that torture going on in the surf zone or hanging off the side of the boats doing push-ups, and you'll see some guys leaving and rolling out when it's hard. And then you'll be able to look to your left or right and see guys that are able to crack a joke or make some satire out of the moment. And if you do plan on doing all this and that you're hearing, that you're thinking about, then make sure that you're the guy who's going to encourage the ones around you, who's going to push hard, who's going to say, all right, come on, guys, just 5 seconds. We're getting ready to do a push here. We're going to win this. Just give me 5 seconds of a push, and then we'll trot for 5 seconds. Be the guy that's going to lead by being a positive example and by never quitting, never whining, never criticizing your leaders, and keeping your mouth shut if it's miserable, but be willing to encourage the hearts and the focus and the drive, the resolve of your teammates. Be that guy that encourages the other guys and motivates them. Don't just sit there and suck it up. Be the guy who has the strong moral, the strong mind, and the humor to go with it.
Yeah, and they watch that out there. You know, they, you get highlighted real quick in buds. You know, we hear a lot of, guys think, fly under the radar at buds. You know, for most guys, that shit is never going to happen, certainly up till graduation. But you get noticed out there real quick for doing really good things or really bad things. And what you just said about leading, being the encouraging guy, driving dudes on without, being a screaming hissy and calling everyone pussies or some shit, motivating and inspiring dudes. They pay attention to that shit, and it's not so rigid and strict out there that, I guess in the end, when all the good shit that you do out there, when you do have that kind of bad day, a lot of that comes back, to, being forgiven, taking a look at some of that stuff and getting you through, training, the instructors helping out.
Absolutely. Control any negativity or criticism. Pissing, just like Don said, is definitely going to break down the teamwork. And this is about SEAL teams. This isn't about a certain beret you're wearing. This isn't about a certain tab on your shoulder. This isn't about your job description like it is with a lot of the other branches where you get your qual. This isn't about getting a qual. This is about team. It's always SEAL team, teammate, and be a team member from the very beginning. You're going to see who isn't really team mindset or in the team mindset from the get-go. And don't be that guy that criticizes others' performance. Encourage them to excel, because some of the best guys that you're ever going to know are some of the guys who just barely make the physical requirements, and they push their heart out and puke their guts out all the way through buds.
Yeah, you're bringing up some really good stuff that guys can't hear enough of. But, when you get to buds, when you form up in your class, you're kind of shocked a bit at some of the guys that show up on either end of the spectrum. Some guys, you wonder, how in the hell did you get into training? Did you know what this was? And then you get kind of the big bully dudes that, puff that chest out and, just talk shit to any kind of dude they would consider, to have a bad day or a poor performance doing something, talking shit. And typically they're not around very long, bully, loudmouth motherfuckers,
Absolutely, and that's one of the things you hear, which is accurate, is that the biggest mouths most often are the first ones to go, And I'll tell you, Don, there was even a guy who was a big line or defensive end, I believe, for Notre Dame. 240-pound dude. He was an officer, and he had to be a leader, but he talked some trash against the little that were coming straight out of boot camp in A school who weren't really too experienced to have much military bearing. And he was threatening and spitting and saying what he was going to do to people who didn't do their job. He ended up quitting because he couldn't run fast enough, and he wasn't willing to keep trying. So this guy who was threatening people almost with their health and well-being and lives ended up quitting right in front of everybody. And it just goes to show you, Mr. Tough Guy, Notre Dame football player, he didn't make it either, and the little wiry guys made it.
Yeah, the guy you'd least expect at times, that's why you can never say down here, guys say, will you critique me? Will you grade me? Will you tell me what you think my chances are? I fucking won't do it.
No.
It's just, I won't do it,
Yeah. And tell you, Don, it's not even about what you can physically perform. What these guys are going to realize is that when you get down there, your physiology has to hold up under the stress and the environmental conditions. You might get pneumonia. You never knew you were going to get pneumonia, and you're a swimming, running, O-course stud, but your body can't hold up. And sadly, some guys never make it through because their bodies cannot hold up to the stress, and they can't bounce back.
Got a really strong guy going out there now, you just hope for the best and, give it hell out there. But in the end, guys get sick a lot or, anything like that, break easy, it's game over, man. And honestly, I've always said, there's been a lot better dudes than I ever was that did not make it through that training because they got sick or injured or just something was going on. But, what rock stars, but just some, weakness in the body or some physical thing that kept them down. But in the end, I guess it worked out.
Yeah, and the point is to put your heart into whatever you're doing. As long as these guys that do get out aren't bitter and bash whatever the situation is with the teams, the Navy or whatever, but they just put their heart into another part of life, they're still good guys that are effective for encouraging and building society. And that's really what it's about. If you're going to be an American, you want to be a SEAL team member, you want to do whatever it is, you want to run a good ethical business, put your heart into it. And if you take some lumps and get some disappointments, don't get disillusioned, bounce back. And that's really what I had to prove to myself is that, I set this goal, I've got to keep persevering because there is no other choice. There is no other option.
Yeah, well, anybody that goes out to buds, anyone that would volunteer for that training, especially the guys, guys that are in the Navy are one thing. I'd been in the Navy for a few years before I went, but, a young guy that'll join the Navy specifically to go to that training when he knows his chances of getting through it are not good, but he's going to go, you're a fucking badass. Anybody that goes through that shit, win, lose, or draw, you're a changed guy, and you might have come up short, but your life, you are changed forever just by virtue of, at least you know where you stand, what you can do, what you can get away with. It's crazy the way that whole thing works out there. Nobody loses out there, even if they don't make it.
Right. Yeah, you stood in the arena and you looked fear in the face, and I tell you what, there's no fear like the fear of the cold creeping up with its claws to crush your heart in the Pacific Ocean. Everyone gets tested by that cold over that long period of time when the waves are beating that gold, glittery sand into your eyes. And you can't see when you stand up. And there's no way around that. And you get tested. So all you got to do is put your heart into it and go for it.
Yeah, a lot of these guys will, and they're certainly piling them out there. It's a good way to go in the teams, You won't regret it. So I appreciate it, bro. Any last-minute tips for these guys about PT or getting ready for buds or anything?
Yep. Dig in, seek, opt for the answers, don't give up, and don't think that you're entitled or that's going to come to you. Find it, dig in hard, and get all the information you can. The buds warning order is good. Getting with a dive motivator or recruiter is good. Talking to guys who have been in is good. But more than anything, you have to be decisive and take responsibility. Even if something bad happens or you make a mistake, take responsibility, own it, and keep persevering. And whatever you do, once you decide and you choose to be decisive, don't ever change your mind. That's really when people ask me, what's the secret? How do you get through? I'll say, you just keep going. That's really all you can do. Just keep going. Tell yourself there's only 24 hours in a day, it's going to end sooner or later. Just keep going.
What do we do in SEAL team? I mean, hear this. Plan your dive and dive your plan. Do not deviate from that. Once you plan it, it's good to go. Do not change that thing midstream in the op. Plan your dive and dive your plan, and don't change shit. Go for it.
Absolutely.
That's it. What a badass. I tell you, guys got an awful lot out of that. 3 hell weeks, 18 log PTs. I don't know, fellas. I didn't even come close to grabbing that bell, but I did not do 3 hell weeks and 18 log PT sessions. So, Rico, you're a badass, dude. Go have a drink, relax with a woman, and go shoot a few pirates, dude.
Thanks, Don. It's been great, and God bless America. This is all American stuff.
Thanks, bro. Really good job. I'll talk to you, man.
Have a good night.